Hi, this is MC. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and the bell so that you'll be able to see the next episodes that we're putting into the channel. And today the episode is going to be stigma and being overweight. Welcome to Healthy by George. I want you to know that this is for informational purposes only, and it should not be considered as medical advice, nor does it have anything related to my employer. So it's always best for you to check with your own medical provider before you do anything that I recommend or for any medical treatments. So please join me, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. So why is stigma and weight an issue? Well, for someone who, like myself, has been overweight for most of my life, I can clearly talk about what stigma means to me and when I have to deal with either a healthcare provider or any type of a social setting where there's judgment and there is some kind of perception of what's acceptable and what's not. So stigma is exactly that. It's someone who's seeing you just because of what you look like. Whether you're overweight or you have a different skin tone or hair or whatever, it's a judgment based on nothing except how you look or some other perception of who you are. And this happens a lot, especially in the healthcare system, and especially with people who are overweight. Now, granted, things are changing because there is a movement of body acceptance, of body positivity, because truthfully, everybody is different. Everybody is not going to be the same. And yet our society wants us to all be a size 4 or 6. And that's not something that's really truthful about who we are in this world. We have many more problems that are causing actually an epidemic when it comes to being overweight. So what happens when you're feeling stigmatized by a healthcare provider? Often it is an issue where perhaps, they're not considering that there are other reasons that you have a weight problem, that they're making an assumption that perhaps you are overeating or you're not working out or whatever. They think you're lazy. I think those are the 3 top things that most people are aware of. And I know what happens with me, or what happened to me, is when I was a little person, it was always assumed I'm overeating, and it was not, there was no empathy from the doctor. There was no sense of being curious or being puzzled as to why I was struggling with this issue. So if your provider is not being empathetic, they're not being, willing to look into things more fully. And that's part of the problem too, is that sometimes there's inadequate care because the provider is not looking at you as a whole person. They seem to be fixated on the fact that you happen to be overweight. And so that's really not fair to you. You have many types of, care that, that are needed that have no issue to weight. And so I think that's part of the issue. But what happens often is the way that we're perceived by someone that's in the healthcare profession, we then sort of put it into our own internal thinking. And we stigmatize ourselves. We have judgment on ourselves, especially when it comes to either eating something that's probably, has a high calorie, or it's a sugar, or it's a carb, and that's something that you should be eating in very small or limited ways, that it really kind of challenges you to see things in a normal way. You feel so unaccepted. You feel like you can't deal with it yourself. And you also hear that inner voice that's criticizing you. It's judging you. It's not allowing you just to accept who you are in this moment right now. And truthfully, that's really what we need and what we want. Acceptance that we're not just the weight that we are carrying on our bodies, but we're more than that. And our healthcare professionals need to do that. They need to show us that they are willing to embrace us and to not be biased about who we are. Providers need to be trained. They need to use sensitivity when dealing with someone who already internally is being hypercritical or judgmental, because we get it in so many directions in our society. We get it when we go shopping. We get it when we're out and about in social settings. And for myself, it's something that I've dealt with all my life, is that you don't feel like you fit in. You don't feel like people see you. You feel like you are an odd person because you're perhaps the heaviest person in the room. And so it's very challenging and difficult. And if a provider can give you that sensitivity, they shouldn't make assumptions that everything that's causing you problems from a health perspective is related to your weight. It can be totally unrelated. There needs to be an openness. There needs to be this way of having discussions that show that they're concerned, and that they also, too, understand that there are emotional challenges that people who are overweight may be hypersensitive to. So it really is important when you're thinking about a healthcare provider and you're someone who, like me, struggles with a weight issue. You need to have a provider who hears you, who listens to what your concerns are, who allows you to really share what your experience is, and to validate that what you are doing is what is truthful. So often I think, in the past, even though I had a good provider, I don't think until recently, with being on these new GLP-1 drugs, I truly felt validated that I had a problem with my weight and that it was more complex than just me cutting calories and doing more exercise. So I don't know if you, like me, have had some feelings of being stigmatized or judged by a healthcare provider, or by, sometimes people who who are in authority. I've had one time, I'll never forget it. I was seeking insurance for myself as an independent contractor, and I was denied. And the truth is, when that person came to interview me, I totally felt that they had judged me and I was being stigmatized by this insurance company who was considering me, mainly because they saw me as a totally overweight individual and that I'm not worthy of providing health insurance to. Even though I'm willing to pay for it, they denied me access, which to me, it doesn't make sense. So if you want to feel like you're being supported, you need to have a healthcare provider who is going to listen to you, who's going to do a thorough examination of you and consider all the elements of what's going on in your healthcare, not just the fact that you happen to be someone who also has overweight issues. It's complex. It's something that's challenging, and that we need people who speak to us supportively. They speak to us with empathy and care, and that they don't belittle the issues that we bring up and think in their own thinking that these are all totally contributed to our weight. So share with me, are you working with a healthcare provider that you are seeking to get the care that you want? Are you working with someone who listens to you, who hears you, who understands that you're a whole person and not just the fact that you're carrying extra pounds? It's so important to have a healthcare provider who hears you, who understands, and is willing to work with you so that you can have the best positive wellness care that you can get. So definitely be with a healthcare provider who hears you, who understands you, and is willing to work with you in an empathetic way. So come back again next week or next episode when we're going to talk about emotional freedom technique, or something that people call tapping, as a way to deal with certain elements of your healthcare. So bye-bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.